Flamingo Books. Shining English Reader Series 8. Chapter 18. The Ransom of Red Chief Part 1. It looked like a good thing, but wait till I tell you. We were down in Alabama, Bill Driscoll and I, when this kidnapping idea struck us. There was a town down there, as flat as a funnel cake, called Summit. Bill and I had about $600, and we needed just $200 more to invest in a scheme in Western Illinois. We selected our victim, the only child of a prominent citizen named Ebenezer Dorset. The kid was a boy of 10, with freckles and red-colored hair. Bill and I figured that Ebenezer would melt down for a ransom of $2,000. But wait till I tell you. About 2 miles from Summit was a little mountain. On the rear elevation of this mountain was a cave. There was stored provisions. One evening after sundown, we drove in a buggy past old Dorset's house. The kid was in the street, throwing rocks at a kitten on the opposite fence. "Hey, little boy," says Bill, "would you like to have a bag of candy and a nice ride?" The boy catches Bill neatly in the eye with a piece of brick. "That will cost the old man an extra $500, says Bill, climbing over the wheel. That boy put up a fight like a bear, but, at last, we got him down in the bottom of the buggy and drove away. We took him up to the cave. After dark I drove the buggy to the little village where we had hired it, and walked back to the mountain. Bill was pasting plaster over the scratches and bruises on his features. There was a fire burning behind the big rock at the entrance of the cave, and the boy was watching a pot of boiling coffee, with 2 buzzard tail feathers stuck in his red hair. He points a stick at me when I came up, and says, "Ha! Cursed paleface, do you dare to enter the camp of Red Chief, the terror of the plains?" "He's all right now," says Bill, rolling up his trousers and examining some bruises on his shins. "We're playing Indian. I'm Old Hank, the trapper, Red Chief's captive, and I'm to be scalped at daybreak. By Geronimo, that kid can kick hard." That boy seemed to be having the time of his life. He immediately christened me Snake Eye, the spy, and announced that I was to be broiled at the stake at the rising of the sun. Then we had supper. Every few minutes he would remember that he was a pesky redskin, and pick up his stick rifle and tiptoe to the mouth of the cave to look out for the scouts of the hated paleface. Now and then he would let out a war whoop that made Old Hank the trapper shiver. "Red Chief," says I to the kid, "would you like to go home?" "Ah, what for?" says he. "I don't have any fun at home. I hate to go to school. I like to camp out. You won't take me back home again, Snake Eye, will you?" "Not right away," says I. "We'll stay here in the cave a while." "All right," says he. "That'll be fine. I never had such fun in all my life." We went to bed about 11 o'clock. We spread down some blankets and quilts and put Red Chief between us. He kept us awake for 3 hours, jumping up and reaching for his rifle, and screeching in mine and Bill's ears, whenever he fancied the stealthy approach of the outlaw band. At last, I fell into a troubled sleep. Just at daybreak, I was awakened by a series of awful screams from Bill. They weren't yells, or howls, or shout, they were simply terrifying, humiliating screams. I jumped up to see what the matter was. Red Chief was sitting on Bill's chest, with one hand twined in Bill's hair. In the other he had the sharp case knife we used for slicing meat, and he was realistically trying to take Bill's scalp, according to the sentence that had been pronounced upon him the evening before. I got the knife away from the kid and made him lie down again. But, from that moment Bill's spirit was broken. He lay down on his side of the bed, but he never closed an eye again in sleep as long as that boy was with us. I dozed off for a while, but along towards sunup I remembered that Red Chief had said I was to be burned at the stake at the rising of the sun. I wasn't nervous or afraid, but I sat up and leaned against a rock. "What you getting up so soon for, Sam?" asked Bill. "Me?" says I. "Oh, I got a kind of a pain in my shoulder. I bought sitting up could rest it." "You're a liar," says Bill. "You're afraid. You was to be burned at sunrise, and you was afraid he'd do it. Do you think anybody will pay out money to get a little imp like that back home? Sure, said I, a rowdy kid like that is just the kind that parents dote on. Now, you and the chief get up and cook breakfast, while I go up on the top of this mountain and reconnoiter. I went up on the peak of the little mountain. Over towards summit I expected to see the villagers scouring the countryside for the dastardly kidnappers. But what I saw was a peaceful landscape dotted with one man plowing with a mule. Perhaps, says I to myself, it has not yet been discovered that the tender lambkin is missing from the fold. And I went down the mountain to breakfast. When I got to the cave I found Bill backed up against the side of it, breathing hard, and the boy threatening to smash him with a rock half as big as a coconut. He put a red-hot boiled potato down my back, explained Bill, and then mashed it with his foot, and I boxed his ears. Have you got a gun about you, Sam? I took the rock away from the boy and kind of patched up the argument. I'll fix you, says the kid to Bill. No man ever yet struck the Red Chief but what he got paid for it. You better beware. After breakfast the kid takes a piece of leather with strings wrapped around it out of his pocket and goes outside the cave unwinding it. We've got to fix up some plan about the ransom, says I. Tonight we must get a message to his father demanding the $2,000 for his return. Just then we heard a kind of war whoop. It was a sling that Red Chief had pulled out of his pocket, and he was whirling it around his head. I dodged, and heard a heavy thud and a kind of a sigh from Bill. A rock the size of an egg had caught Bill just behind his left ear. He fell in the fire across the frying pan of hot water for washing the dishes. I dragged him out and poured cold water on his head for half an hour. By and by, Bill sits up. You won't go away and leave me here alone, will you, Sam? Says he.